Okay, so today is Thursday, the 31st. You should already be finished with the warm up. Okay, I've already checked your homework and all that good stuff. Did I miss anybody with checking the homework? Okay, good. All right, I'm going to model. I'm going to show you the parts of a parabola. So it's really not modeling. It's teacher notes on parabola and axis of symmetry, AOS. I'm gonna try to get that in today. Okay, and then hopefully we'll get some practice in. If we don't get practice in today, we'll get practice in tomorrow. Okay. Um, Thursday homework. We need to make sure that we're studying the notes. Okay. And now we need to write in our planner. I'm gonna pause to give you a chance to write. All right. Um, Today is Thursday. Please make sure you check off what you did yesterday. If you came to tutoring, a couple people came, check it off. If you did the homework, check it off. If you watched the help video, check it off. Today is the 31st. It's the last day of March. Math 1. We have our homework. We watch homework help video. And we need to make sure we study our notes. Remember, for tomorrow, we're submitting work. We don't have a test tomorrow. We still have a lot that we need to go over. But we need to make sure that we have already submitted the quiz from last week, the homework, and the warm-up. We need to make sure that we have those items submitted. Any questions? Okay, I'm going to pause. Okay. Anybody still writing? All right, let's put this away. Let's look at our warm-up. Your family bought a house 10 years ago. Since that time, the value of real estate in the neighborhood declined to 3.5% each year. Your parents initially paid 179,000 for their home or their house. Write an equation to model the house after 2 years, and how much is the house worth today? Okay, so that was 10 years ago. The starting amount 10 initially was what?
179,000.
So which form are we using? Is exponential growth?
Exponential decay. It says
All right, so let's see. Since the neighborhood declined by this amount each year, okay, and it initially paid. All right, you're right. Exponential decay. So what's the formula for exponential decay?
C equals 1 minus 5.
To the x or t power, right? All right, so what are we going to put? What was the amount 10 years ago? Yes, babe. Very good. And we got 1 minus, what are we going to put here?
0.035.
Okay. All right, and then 10 years ago, well, that was 10 years ago, right? So what are we going to, the bells are completely off today. So what are we going to put in the place of x?
10.
And we're going to put 10 because we want to know what it is today. And that was 10 years ago. All right, so We got our calculator. And we're going to type this in. Oh, did they want the equation first? The equation is first, so put x here. That's the equation. And then the answer, that's what they want second. All right, so let's type that in and see what we get. We have 179,000 parentheses 1 minus 0.035, and we're raising it to the 10 power. How much money is that now? Very good. $125,350. And how much cent? 53. Well, we're going to round it to 53. Well, it's 52, but let's round to 53 because of the 7. Okay, so that's about what it is. And let's put the squiggly lines because we did round. Any questions about that? Mike and Harrison are the famous. Yes, baby.
Wouldn't it be 12 years? Because 2022.
Well, it just said 10 years ago. Yeah, it didn't give us a certain year. It just said 10 years ago. Mike and Harrison are at the famous Nathan's Hot Dog Eating Championship of the World's New York on the 4th of July. Mike was late starting, so Harrison already had 6 hot dogs before he started eating. Formed then on, wait a minute, from, this is supposed to be from, it's like from then on, Harrison ate a hot dog every 2 minutes. Okay, 1 hot dog for every 2 minutes. All right. Mike stuffed 1 1/4 hot dogs a minute. So these are rates of change, right? This one is 1 point. Oh, so I said point, but 1 1/4 hot dog a minute. And who was the other one? Harrison ate what? Just one hot every 2 minutes. Okay, so how much is that every minute? A half. Okay, so it's half for him. How many minutes does it take for Mike to catch up? So let's do Harrison equation first. So what's the equation for Harrison? Y is equal to what? What's the starting amount for Harrison?
6.
It was 6, okay? It's 6 hot dogs before Mike already started. So my B is equal to 6. And what's the rate that he's eating the hot dogs? 0.5. Okay? So how do I use this to write the equation?
Y.
Okay, very good. 0.5x plus 6. Okay, so now let's use Mike. Okay. All right, what was the starting amount for Mike?
0.
Is 0. Okay. And what's the rate of change for Mike?
0.5. Well, not 0.5.
1.25. Okay. Because that's 1 1/4. So how would I write that as an equation?
1.25x.
Hey. Oh, he doesn't have it? Like what? He got his stuff. Is that your book bag, Kyle? He got all his stuff. He don't have anything in there. He just wants a reason to come back. No, don't let him do that because he's jiving you. There ain't nothing in here. No, I understand. Okay. Bye. All right, here we go. Okay, so this is for Mike. It's y is equal to what?
1.25x.
Very good. Okay, so now we're gonna type this in the calculator to see how long it's gonna take for Mike to catch up with Harrison. So where do I go to type this in the calculator? Y equals. Let me clear my calculator. 2 plus 7, 1, 2. So now I'm gonna go to y equals, and I'm gonna type in Harrison first. So that's 0.5 x plus 6. And then, Braden, type this in. And then you got 1.25x. Okay, so we got both equations. Now we're going to look at the function table. All right. Where do we go to view the function table? Yes. Very good, babe. Second graph. So now we're going to look at the numbers. So far, Harrison, it started at 6. Then he said 6.5. Still more. Still more here. Okay. Still more. Still Harrison got more. It's catching up now. You see it? This is 9 and 7.5. This is 9.5 and 8.75. And then finally catch up at what?
8 minutes.
8 minutes. So the answer here is 8 minutes. It takes them 8 minutes to catch up. Any questions about how we got that? All right, let's factor this out, okay? We notice, is there a GCF for all three numbers?
No.
No, not other than 1, right? Okay, this first number, A, is 1. This is 1 right here. So, and it's a trinomial, so we can factor it by doing the factor. What are we going to put in each parentheses? The X. Now let's look at the T chart, the sum, the factor sum chart. What number goes here? 6. It's a positive 6 that we're going to factor. See what two numbers can be multiplied together to give me 6, but a sum of what? -5. Okay, so what is that? How do we figure that out? What's that going to be? Yes. -2 times -3. Negative times a negative is going to give me that positive 6. And when I add them together, that gives me a -5. So good job. So what am I going to put in each parenthesis?
2.
What kind of 2?
-2.
-2, and then what? And this is factoring. It didn't say solve, it just said factor. So those two binomials, if I multiply them together, I'm going to get this trinomial there. Any questions? Okay. All right, good job. We don't have a quiz tomorrow, so we will probably do the warm-up tomorrow, okay? Because we don't have a quiz or test tomorrow. So please don't mark that out like we normally do. We'll probably do the first one. All right. Put that away. Take out your notebook, please. Pause for the cause. The last page that we did was page 5, solving quadratic function. You should have completed, which ones did I give you? All the way to number 10, correct?
Yes.
You should have already completed number 10. Are there any questions? That should be in your notebook. Please ask questions. Do anybody have any questions about numbers 1 through 10? We did some of them, but do you have any questions about, do y'all want me to finish out 8? Because we didn't finish that one.
Yeah.
All right, I'll finish 8 out. The other 2, I do want you to try on your own, but if you have questions, just come back and ask. All right, so let's finish out number 8. Anybody need me to wait? Need more time? Okay, I'm going to pause. Let me know when you're ready. All right, good people, let's do this. Okay, so remember we got all of the terms to the same side so that y is equal to 0, because when you're finding your x, where it crosses the x axis, your y has to be 0. Okay, so we moved everything over. Now we're factoring by grouping because this is a trinomial and a is greater than 1. When a is greater than 1, you do your factor sum chart by multiplying the first and the last number together. We found the two numbers that can be multiplied to give us, these right here, to give us a -33, and we use those two in the middle. We got 4 terms, so we use factor by grouping. We found the GCF for the first 2. The GCF of these 2 terms is 2n. Okay, this is where you get lost, Sammy, because you in la la land right now, babe. Come on, I need you to focus. So you take your GCF out, and it leaves you with 7n plus 1. The GCF here is -5. What can I multiply times -5 to give me a -35n?
7n.
That's positive 7n, right? What can I multiply times a -5 to give me a -5?
More.
Positive 1. Okay, do y'all notice something here? Okay, these binomials are the same. So we're going to put these in the parentheses together and have them being multiplied by the binomial 7n plus 1. Don't forget to bring down the equal 0. Any questions? After I completely factor, bring down my equal to 0, what do I do here to figure out where this parabola crosses the x-axis? What do I do? Yes. Very good. I set each of these factors equal to 0. So that's 2n minus 5 is equal to 0. And that 7n plus 1 is equal to 0. Are y'all okay with that?
Yes.
So now how do we solve for n here?
Add 5.
We add 5. Good job, babe. This is gone, and I'm left with 2n is equal to 5. What do I do now?
Divide by 2.
Divide by 2. So this is n is equal to 5 over 2, or you can write it as a decimal. What's the decimal for this?
2.5.
2.5. Okay. All right, so now, what do I do to solve for n here? Subtract 1. Good job, y'all. This is gone, and we're left with 7n is equal to a negative 1. Now what do we do?
Divide by 7.
Divide by 7. This gives me n is equal to a negative 1 over 7. Do you see that? Are we okay?
Yes.
As long as the fraction is reduced, you can keep it as a fraction. You want to make sure that it's simplified or reduced. So how do I write my answer? It can be, say, they could actually define roots. What's another word for roots?
Zeros.
Zeros or x-intercepts. And we're getting ready to write. There's 2 different ways to write it. What's one of the ways?
Brackets.
The brackets listed, make a list. What are the 2 numbers?
2.5 and then negative 1 over 7.
Okay. And then the second way is what?
List them as points.
Points, ordered pairs. What's one of the ordered pairs?
Negative 1 over 7.
Okay, negative 1 over 7, comma 0. What's the other one then?
2.5, 0.
Very good. Okay. Is there anyone lost with that? Are y'all okay? What about finding it in the calculator? How do we feel about finding this in the calculator? Raise your hand up. Thumbs up if you get it. Sideways if you're confused. Kirsten, how do you feel? Okay. You're confused. Okay. So look, let's try it. Okay. Make sure you pay attention to how I'm doing this. Okay, babe? Let's clear our calculator and let's do it together. 2 plus 7, 1, 2. We're going to go to y equals, and we're going to type in the original equation. This one right here, when all of the variables are on the same side, because this is y. So we want to type it when it's in this form. So this is 14n squared, or x. We put x, okay? Then we got minus 33n, 33x. And then we got minus 5. Any questions? Y'all understand how to type it in? Sammy, do you have that yet, babe? Okay, let me know. Dalton, what about you? Okay, good. Orlin, are you good?
Yeah.
All right. So after we type this in, do you have it, babe? I'm sorry. Okay. So now let's press the graph button. Let's graph it. Okay. Do you see it's crossing here and it's crossing there, right? So now you want to figure out what these 2 ordered pairs are, because it's crossing in 2 places. So you press the second trace button, the yellow button or orange yellow looking button, and the trace button is right beside graph. Your screen should look like this. Are you good so far? Okay. Now you're going to go to zeros. You're going to go to 0 because you're finding your zeros, okay? Or your x-intercept, same thing. So now you're going to do this side. The left side, we're going to find this on this side. So we're going to put our cursor here and here. The left side of the parabola, use this arrow and press enter above the line, right above it. The closest you get to this line, the better off you are. So right here is good. Press enter. And below the line just a little bit, press enter. And now it says guess. So now you press enter so the calculator can search. And do you see how it's negative 0.14 and some change? Does that, you see it? You got it? That's how we get that. They got it in decimal form. Okay, so now let's do this side. So you're going to go back to that again, second trace, and you're going to do 0 again because you're going to do the other side. So you see your cursor is all the way up here. If you can't see your cursor, read the bottom of the screen. The bottom of the screen is saying your cursor is at negative 0.21 and 2.6. You need it to be over here. So press the arrow over button. Keep pressing the arrow over until you get to the other side of the parabola. Okay? So I'm going to go under the parabola, enter, and then above. If you get confused about which way you're supposed to go, no worries, because if you put it in the wrong place, it's going to give you an error. And then you know the next time to reverse the order that you put it in. Okay, so no worries. It'll tell you, it'll give you an error. So when you press enter, there we got it. You see where it says 2.5? And that's what we got as our answer, 2.5. You see it? Any questions about how we did that? Are you okay now, Sammy? Okay. Are you good? You said you were thumbs up, right? Okay. Yes.
I was just thinking about like let's say you're doing a test and then you get and then like there's a way that you can change the decimal to a fraction, right?
Yeah, you need it to be changed to so that one that was a long decimal. So instead of checking it that way, you would type in the fraction that you got, which is a negative 1/7. You would type that in. Okay. Do you see it?
Yeah.
Which was that number that you saw.
Okay.
But it's better to do it that way than to try to write all those decimals out. Does that make sense? So look at your answer choice and type in that fraction to see if it gave you that. You understand? Okay. That's a good question. Any other questions about this part? All right. So now I need you to go back and look at your notes because this is super important for us to move on to finding the axis of symmetry. Is when we first started this, we talked about quadratic, page 21 from third quarter. This is super important, and you need your calculator. All right. Okay, so now I have to make some connections so that these word problems won't be difficult for you. So please make sure that you try to understand what I'm saying. If you don't, then just stop me and say, can you explain it again? Or I don't get it. Okay? All right, so this is the standard form for a quadratic function. You got y is equal to, you see a is attached to the x squared.
Yes.
B is attached to just the x. And C has no variable attached to it at all. Are there any questions about this?
No.
Sometimes, right, sometimes you are missing the B, sometimes you're missing the C, and sometimes you're missing both of those. But it's a quadratic function still if you have the x squared term. That's okay. If there's no x squared term, then that means it's not a quadratic function. Is there anybody lost with what I said? Okay. All right, so this is what the A does. This number right here, if this number is a positive, then the parabola is going to go up. If the number is a negative, the parabola is going to go down. And I'm getting ready to test your knowledge on this in a minute, so please listen. The B is going to shift the parabola either to the left or to the right, okay? And your C is going to shift the parabola up or down. Any questions about that? The B is also the linear part of the equation because without it, that would really be your M. Do you see that? It's the straight part of the parabola. Any questions about what Ms. Reyes is saying?
No.
This term right here is what makes your U shape. That's what makes the the line curve back around and go in the opposite direction. Okay? And your C is your y-intercept. That's where the line is actually crossing the y-axis. Any questions about what Miss Reyes is saying? So now I'm getting ready to put your knowledge to the test on that. All right, let's go to y equals, please. Clear it. I'm going to clear mine. 2 plus 7, 1, 2. We're going to press y equals. And we're going to type in what they call the parent equation for a quadratic function, which is the very basic quadratic function. Y is equal to x squared. That's where all you have is where a is 1, and you don't have a b, you don't have a c. Graph it, see what it looks like. Got it? All right, so now I want you to go back to y equals, and right under it, I want you to create an equation that's going to make the parabola now go down. I'll pause to give you a chance to do that, okay? Anybody get it? Okay, what'd you get, Ian? Very good. Negative x squared. And look at what happens to that. It makes it flip over. Yes.
Negative 19 x squared.
You want to flip this exact equation. Oh. Just flip that equation. So the only way to flip that one, this same equation, is just to add a negative to it. Does that make sense? Yes.
First time I did negative x squared, it said error. Is that because I used the minus button?
Yes, it's because you used the minus. Yeah, minus. Make sure you use the actual negative button here. Instead, don't use minus. Use minus for minus and negative for negative. Okay? What's wrong? Mm-hmm. Okay, good. All right. So now go back to y equals. Clear this one. Now I want you to make this same parabola. I want you to make it shift up 5. Do that now. Right now, it's at, you see this right here? This is the vertex. You see right here, the lowest point here is 0. I want you to take this point and shift it up 5. How do you make it shift up 5? Okay, what equation would that be, Orland? X squared plus 5.
Yeah.
Yes, and that made it just shift up 5. Now I want you to take this equation and shift it down 4. Shift it 4.
Plus 5 or from?
No, from the parent one. Okay, Ian?
X squared minus 4.
X squared minus 4. Okay, good. Now, I want you to take the parent one. I want you to take this parent one and see if you can shift it down 5, but have it flipped over. Instead of it being upward, make it downward. So shift it down 5, but make it go down. Well, shift it the other way, but make it go down. So a downward parabola. What you get?
Negative x squared minus 5.
Negative x squared minus 5. Very good. See it? Okay. Excellent job. Now I want you to see if you can shift this parabola over to the right. Shift it. What you think? How are you going to make it shift over to the right? What you get, Jacob?
X squared minus 5x.
Minus 5x, okay. So let's see if it shifted over to the right. Okay, that's that one. Okay, that's a little good. It went down, but it shifted over. That's good. All right. And you could have used another number other than 5, okay? But that makes a shift. How do you shift it to the left?
Add.
Let's add and see what it'll do. Yep, good job. Any questions about that? Is there anybody that's lost? Look at what it's doing if I just make this, get rid of the 5 and just make that a 1 and see what it does there. You see, kind of made it skinnier. Do you see how it just shifted over a little bit? Okay. Any questions about that? All right, y'all. We're getting ready to put it to the test now. Lord, be with me as I do this, because sometimes these kids be losing their mind when they see this stuff, and you be like, Lord, what do I do? All right, here you go. Here is the foldable that we're doing. Fold this foldable. You got all the bases that you need. You should be good. Fold this foldable so that you see intro to parabolas here. Some of this, a lot of this you will know. Some of this is going to be new. And it looks just like this. Yes, babe. Oh, I didn't give you one. Oh, sorry. My bad. Anybody else need one? Yeah, I just missed you.
This guys.
Yeah,
Phase.
go ahead. Please hurry up.
You said fold it to make what?
So that you can see the intro to parabolas.
Oh.
All right, here we go. Okay, so axis of symmetry. Your axis of symmetry is actually a vertical line that cuts the parabola in half. So your axis of symmetry is a vertical line that cuts the parabola in half. It's a vertical line that cuts the parabola in half. The formula for the axis of symmetry, the formula is x, of course, because it's a vertical line. So the equation for it is x is equal to, because it's going through the x-axis, it's going to be a negative b over 2a. Miss Reyes, what do these letters mean? The letters come from the parabola. You remember a term, b term, c term? Okay, don't forget your a. You'll see this on the other page, but it's a x squared plus bx plus what? C. This is where you get your numbers from to substitute or to find the axis of symmetry. You get it from the actual equation. So this is your A, this is your B. C you don't need for axis of symmetry. Yes.
What's under the negative b?
2A. 2A. Sorry. Zoom in. Can you see it now? So this is your axis of symmetry. And I usually make it a dash line.
Yeah.
This is the line that cuts the parabola in half. And axis of symmetry is such a long word, so the abbreviation is AOS. So this right here is your AOS, okay? This is your axis of symmetry. Your vertex is the highest or lowest point of the parabola. Vertex, highest or lowest, minimum or maximum is the words I should use because that's what they use. It's your minimum or maximum point of the parabola. It's your minimum or maximum point of the parabola. So it's this right. Yes. The U-shaped line. Remember that page that we just did? Where we got our notes from? You might not remember. Quadratic function is an equation of a function that graphs an upward or downward U-shaped line. A U-shaped line, what, is a parabola? Yes. Are you doing any work?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead. Yes. You have to wait until he comes back. All right, so this right here, where that line cuts the parabola in half, this point right here is called the vertex. This right here is your vertex. And your vertex is going to be your axis of symmetry, whatever the axis of symmetry is. That's your x value, comma. When you substitute that x value into the formula, you get your y. No worries. We'll do it. Just write it. This is your vertex. It's the lowest or the highest point of the parabola. Since this is the lowest point, it's our minimum value. If it's in the other direction, it's your maximum value.
Oh, that makes sense.
Okay, let's look at the direction. If your a term, remember, y is equal to ax squared plus bx plus c. This is what they're talking about. If this a is a positive, the parabola goes up. If the a is a negative, the parabola goes what? Down. Okay. The line that cuts the parabola in half is called the axis of symmetry. This point is the lowest point. This is called my vertex. And since it's the lowest point, it's also called my minimum value. This is a downward parabola. This is my vertex. Since it's the highest point of the parabola, it is also called my maximum value. Very good, babe. The line that cuts the parabola in half is called my axis of symmetry, AOS. The line that cuts the parabola in half is called my what?
AOS.
It's the line that cuts the parabola in half. Remember, that equation is always going to be x is equal to. The formula is negative b divided by what? 2a. The formula is negative b divided by 2a. Where do I get my a and my b from? I get it from the equation that they're going to give you. This is a, this is b. I'm going to keep saying the same thing over again so that maybe it'll stick. Are there any questions so far? Let me put all of this back up here. Are there any questions about anything that we just wrote? How are you feeling so far? Oh, you gave it a thumbs up. Okay. Yours is kind of tilted a little bit. Okay. All right. Hopefully we'll start making connections as we do some examples. Let's turn in. All right. A parabola is a quadratic function is a graph of, wait a minute. A parabola is a graph of a quadratic function. Sorry, said it backwards. It is said to have what kind of shaped line?
U-shaped.
A U-shaped line. And this is a very basic quadratic function or parabola because it doesn't have a b or a c. It has an a, but it doesn't have a b or a c. You have to have the x squared term in order for it to be a parabola. The standard form for a parabola or a quadratic function, and I'm put quadratic here, is y is equal to what?
ax squared plus bx plus c.
A, B, and C are numbers. The axis of symmetry or yes. Look at you. Or AOS for short, because that's the shortcut for it, is the line that cuts the parabola in half vertically. That's up and down line. Each half is symmetrical, what do they want to say? Line of the other side. They're equal sign. What's the formula for axis of symmetry?
X is equal to negative b over 2a.
Very good. The vertex of a parabola is the point that falls on what? That falls. It's on the minimum maximum, but look, it's right here. Okay, so it's either the minimum or the maximum point of a parabola. Oh, they said that on the. It's supposed to be falls on highest or lowest point of the axis. That sentence don't make sense to me. The vertex of the parabola is the point that falls. It's not, it can't, it's got to be both. It's either the lowest point or the highest point on the parabola, and that's not a long enough line. Let's, yeah, so that the highest, supposed to be the minimum or max. I'm just going to put it again. Please stop doing, because I'm trying to ignore you because I don't want to jump off. Because when I go in rage because I'm the angry black woman, then people start saying stuff. And if you want me to go there, I will. But if you and your little friend don't stop, y'all going to get cussed out. I'm trying to be nice about it. Your vertex formula is going to be the AOS here, comma, and we're going to put Y. I don't want to confuse you, so we'll just put Y here. All right, so now we're going to find both of those. I'm going to show you how to do it. First things first, you need to label your A, your B, and your C. Okay? What's your A going to be in this equation?
2x squared.
It's just the 2. A is 2. It's the number that's in front of the x squared. What's your B here?
Negative 8.
And what's your C?
4.
So now we're going to use the formula for axis of symmetry, or AOS, which is x is equal to a negative b over what?
C.
No,
that's 2a.
2a. Axis of symmetry formula. So, all right, let's substitute. We have the negative here. What's our b?
Negative 8.
Negative 8 on the top. We got 2 times, what's a?
2x squared.
No, what's a?
2.
Just 2. Okay? So this is going to be a positive 8 over what? Over 4. What's positive 8 over 4?
2.
That's 2. So your axis of symmetry here is equal to 2. Vertex. You take your axis of symmetry x and substitute it into the equation. And this is how you find your axis of symmetry. I mean your vertex. So you got 2 squared. This is 2 times 4. And this is negative what?
Negative 16.
Negative 16 plus 4. This is 8 minus 16 plus 4. So what does this give me here?
12.
This gives me a negative 8 plus 4. What's negative 8 plus 4?
12.
Negative 8 plus 4?
Negative 4.
Negative 4. So this is going to be 2 comma negative 4. Don't paste this down until we finish it because it's hard to write that when it's we're almost finished with it.